right, welcome back. It is still the big conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. And today we're talking about something really deep, grief. I know most people don't like to talk about that, but it's so important to have that conversation. And we're having that conversation today with a counseling psychologist who's joined us today. He's Earl. All right. Are you all right, Earl?
Yes, I am.
So good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. So I think it was a few weeks ago that news broke of the passing of 44-year-old daughter of late former governor of Oyo State, Abisola Kola Daisy. And, you know, it shook me a bit because it's odd because I've interviewed her once. I think we had an interview once, but for me, it really just shook me. I think it was what people would call a trigger. And she's someone that lived with so much light, so much gusto, and, you know, someone I've followed on social media for such a long time. And so when I heard of her passing, there's just something about certain people that you think this person can never die. They lived too loudly and they lived too, you know, too well. You know, Fulola is someone that's super close to her. So that's actually why we intentionally brought her on the show today. Fulola was super close to Abikedi, like she was fondly called. And how are you?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's so, I know this is not your first, I know you lost your dad a long time ago. So this is not the first time you're obviously going to lose somebody, but do you also feel that way, where maybe it was from losing your dad that you just get triggered when you hear of someone's passing?
Okay, so I've lost 4 people that were really close to me, you know, that, so my dad died 17 years ago. It's going to be 17 years on October 25th. And I felt, so for a very long time, okay, so when my dad was being buried, I refused to look at his, you know, corpse because I wanted to have the impression that, oh, he traveled because he was on a journey, he came back and died. And my dad was found dead on the floor, you know.
In the house?
Yes, in the house. Ooh. And it was a very big, what do I call it now? It left a very big hole in my heart that, oh, my dad died without any help, you know, that, oh, nobody could help him. It's not that, oh, they took him to the hospital and he died, you know, in the hospital. So it did not, he was found dead on the floor. Probably might have died maybe about 5 hours prior to the time that my mom saw him, you know. And I refused, you know, to look at his corpse. I was just having that. But about 7 years after, my dad's eldest brother died. And it's really, you know, I would be driving and I would park and start crying, you know, because I was not married and I felt, oh, so one of the things, because I'm my dad's only daughter, so I was looking for him walking me down the, you know, aisle, and it did not happen. So I was like, okay, so my uncle will still do that. So that my uncle died and I was really broken. I was so broken that my uncle's wife had to call me from the UK that Masukumo, you know, in fact, the day that I was buried, it was buried at St. Peter's Cemetery at Arimo. If you know that road, it was a very long, you know, about a kilometer walk from the burial ground to the junction. I cried from that place to, you know, to, so that really, so, and when Abizad died, now, this was not, it was also not expected. So it was, I think it was sick for about 30 days, you know.
Before it passed.
Yeah, about 27 days or thereabouts. Now, every day we're praying 9 times in a day. I'm a Christian, I'd never fasted dry fasting before. I did 3 days dry fasting, you know, that he will not die, he will not die, he will not die. He died. And I remember, you know, asking God that, why did he die? So I remember Abby was saying that, oh, if God did not answer prayer, he doesn't, you know, he's not there. I think he has just left us to do our things here on earth. So I saw a video by Ravi Zacharias, you know, that, oh, God is good, God is kind, God is, I can't remember the third thing, but God is also infinite. You know, he's not bound by time. So you cannot understand the death of any person, you know, by now. God, even if something bad happened to you, God is still powerful enough to make it look good in the future. So that was what did it for me. So I sent the video to Abby. And when Abisola died, and you know this thing about social media, you know, that nobody had told you about it, but someone had posted this stuff on social media, and like about 6 a.m. that day, you know, someone sent me a message that someone posted, you know, it sent him a link that Abisola passed on. Okay, I couldn't call mommy, and she now sends a message. So she had a devotional group, and you know, she posted it, and that I can't remember what she did. That was
kind of the first. Okay. I mean, how does it feel to be one of God's favorite? Because I remember we brought Sarah on because she doesn't even know what grief what grief feels like.
While you were talking, I was really trying to understand the emotions, how you feel. I really don't know how that feels like, and I'm so thankful. I've never had anyone close to me, neither of my family members, pass. The only person that I can remember of has to be my grandmom, and that was like in 2014. I was in school, and I got a call while I was in school that, oh, your grandma's passed, and I was like, oh, wow, sorry about that. Rest in peace. And I really didn't know how much it's hurt until I saw my mom and her sister crying on her burial day, and that was when I was like, okay, this is deep. I didn't really have that much, you know, relationship with her, so I just could not relate. And when I saw my mom crying, it broke my heart because a strong woman is crying. Okay, what do you mean by that? My mom was crying, her sister was crying. They refused to go look. You know, at one point, like they kept on hugging, and I'm like,
but you were not directly connected to that.
I was not. I felt like I had to cry because I saw people crying. I love you.
Wow. I mean, that's why I said she's one of God's favorite.
So I've also had instances where I was with my best friend, and then she got a call that dad died. And ever since then till now, because she's her dad's favorite. Like when we're in school, you know, and we don't have water, dad would drive, you know, carry gallon of water and bring it for us. So that was like my second-hand experience with, you know, hearing about someone dying. But I still do not know how to process it. I see my friend cry, and I don't even know how to help her. I don't even know what to say. When she's crying, I'm like, you know what, just cry, my love. After crying, should we go get something to eat? You know, at least must chop.
And we will talk about some of the things what we can say to people who are grieving, and that's why I'm glad that we have you here. My introduction to grief was when I was really young. I think maybe I was about maybe 10 when my older brother died. Okay. You know, and he was a sickle cell, living with sickle cell, and he passed. I didn't understand. I remember even making a joke and saying, "Oh, now I can sleep on his bed." And I remember my auntie saying, "Shut up," you know. So I didn't realize that it was permanent. I think maybe I was younger, maybe I was 8 or 9, so I wasn't 10 yet. So I remember saying, I can now have his bed. There's, you know, because I was sharing a bed with my sister at the time. So I felt like, you know, one person's, you know, so I didn't quite understand until maybe like, I think 10 years after when my older sister died. Now that was because number one, she died on my lap. You know, she had been complaining, she had come home, she was in UI, and she had come home, you know, to say she had malaria. So my mom was working in Abuja at the time, my dad was not around. So was I and my other sister that had to get a cab and take her to the hospital. When we got to the hospital, the nurses, as a lot of people's testimonial, we're looking for oxygen, we're looking for, and she was there, and she was gasping, and she was on my lap. And she was gasping, and she was on my lap. And then she just, I'd never seen anybody die in my life. That was the first time, my introduction to grief. And I know that it's been, how many years now? Been, you know, 20 years or thereabout now, but it still feels very fresh. There are days, obviously, it's much easier and all of that, but there are days when you just feel like someone just stabs you with a knife, and you just feel the stab, you know. So, I mean, that obviously, you know, I can't explain that feeling. But then my dad passed 4 years ago during the COVID time. It was just maybe like 2 weeks before Governor Jimobi died or thereabout, you know, due to COVID-related illnesses. And, you know, so for me, it's just every time I hear that someone, even if someone I'm not connected to, it just feels, So even when I heard about Abisola's zone, I know for days, I don't know, I couldn't even post. I just feel like, you know, because the thing is, when people die, it's like, wow, you see somebody laughing, I'm like, wow, people are laughing, you are living life, and someone that's so close to me has passed. I don't know, what do you call that? Earl?
The truth about it is that people respond differently to grief. And it may not be the same way. What we usually try to help people do is to ensure that they respond appropriately, no matter how you choose to respond. Right? Okay, for you that may appear to be God's favorite, interestingly, whether you like it or not, you will experience it. Unless you don't want to live long. Right? It's just a simple, unless you do not want to live long. So if you want to live, if you want to outlive your parents, if you want to outlive your older ones, right? If you want to outlive the dear people, to outlive them means that they will go. Right, that is what it means. So whether you like it or not, the only way we can avoid it is to go. If we do not go, we will definitely face it. Now, the thing about it is that people will definitely respond in different ways to grief. Sometimes it could just be that denial, right? And
is that healthy? That denial, is it healthy?
It's whether it is healthy or not, you will face it, right? It is how long you spend in that particular phase that actually matters. Because like, my mom died. I was in class in the university right now. So 200 level, I was in class receiving lectures. And my class rep, who also comes from my hometown, arrived school that day. And he had already heard that my mom had passed. Nobody had informed me yet because they were looking for a way to take me out of school. He comes to class and just announced in front of the class, please, everybody, try and reach out to All Right because he lost his mom this morning. That's actually how I heard.
What? Wow.
About my mom's passing, right? So okay, now it is a joke. He did not know I was in class.
Oh my goodness.
He thought I was home.
We need to talk about those who like to break other people's stories for other people.
Right.
That's a conversation.
So he thought I was home, so he was informing my course-mates to everybody try and reach out to All Right. So my response was just laughter.
Wow.
I was just laughing like how? Just like that. So I still stayed in school. I did not leave. I still stayed in school. Yes, she was sick. She died to Lassa fever. Right. So yes, she was sick, but I could not process it immediately. Now, people will always have that denial phase, like you don't want to, it's not true, or maybe this person is sleeping, maybe this person traveled. Sometimes you may be hallucinating, you start hearing the person's voices, right? And it's there. Then other times that you get angry, like, why should this person die?
So it's a process.
Like, for what? For what? Why should you die? Like, why should you die right now? Why should you live right now? And now we have prayed, we have paid the doctors, we have fasted.
Because there are some people, and I know Abby Katie, you know, she was ill for a bit. Does it make it easier when the person was ill as opposed to something that just happened abruptly?
Okay, so for, you know, I like that you mentioned anger. So I've experienced, like I said, I've experienced 4 grievous, you know, incidents of losing someone. And I think for Abby and her dad, what I felt, especially for her dad, what I felt was anger. Like, why did he have to die? Why did he have to die? You know, so for Abby, yes, you know, and pity, you know, pitying the husband,
family,
the mom,
kids.
you know, like, she was a very jovial, full of life,
and
you know.
she was very committed to her family.
Committed to her family, to her husband especially, and the children, you know, and to her siblings, her mom, you know. So that's what I actually feel towards Abby, you know, but for her dad, it was that anger, like, why should this happen, you know, this man. So it just felt like, everything was going to crumble. Of course, it hasn't crumbled.
I think, I can definitely relate. I think for me, for my sister, was anger. That she was so young, and I felt like she was the best of all of us. You know how you feel like it's the best. She was everyone's favorite. She was going to be a lawyer. She was in final year. UI. You know, so I felt very, very, very angry.
The interesting thing about the anger is that sometimes it can be different ways, factions and the rest. Sometimes you're angry with yourself, like, perhaps I could have done something. Perhaps I could have told you more I loved you. Maybe perhaps I could have sent that message I did not send. I could have, you know, there are times you're angry with yourself. The other times you're angry with the other person, because there was a period I was angry with my mom. Like, it is very disrespectful. You cannot be having young children and be dying. Like, I was like, how do you die when you have young kids? Who are you leaving them? So you can also have that anger towards God, and sometimes you now start negotiating with God. That negotiation now starts coming like, will this person leave? And maybe they will hear now that it's the mortuary, that like all those stories that we hear that this person has woken up. And by the time you are done with all those negotiations, all of a sudden you just realize that it has truly happened. And many times that it comes when the person has not been buried, or sometimes when you hear. I remember my dad, when he raised his scream after my mom died. That scream happened when he heard the siren of the hearse. The moment they brought the body, I heard that long, and the man lifted a shout.
That's screwy,
right? Like, so there are times you come to that reality and it leads you to depression. That is where the problem is. How people manage this depression. Like, you live in denial, I still don't have an issue. You are angry, I don't have an issue. You are negotiating, I don't have an issue. But the moment you come to that depression phase, I'm asking myself, I hope you don't stay here for too long, right? I'm concerned about that. And I'm also concerned about the fact that I hope you manage this way, because many of us now make long-term decisions based on that depression period, right? And sometimes what you suffer in that depression period, you may find it very difficult to recover from it.
Absolutely.
So yes, it's okay to be depressed. Nobody's saying you should not be. But how are you handling it? Are you trying to sleep?
Right. Now, I know therapy has become a fashionable, is a trend now. Everybody is going to therapy. When I see Nigerians, I'm like, okay, I don't know if any of you has ever done therapy. Have you ever tried to do therapy? Maybe since your dad passed.
Okay, so I think that our society, you know, and when you're talking to someone, for example, or when you're surrounded by people who minister to you, who talk to you. When my dad died, I think one of the reasons why it became very difficult for my mom to get out of that stage was because, so I was serving. My elder brother was going for, I think he was doing his housemanship. He was going for youth service. And it was only my mom and dad that were at home that day. So it was an empty nest, you know. So my younger brother was just writing his exam. So there was nobody in the house. So after the burial, we all had to leave the house. So it was only her in the house. So it took her time, you know, to get over it. So I think that in Africa, we have that support system of, you know, that's why we are different from those in the Western world, you know. So because of this support, because that's like a therapy on its own, you know, you get people to talk to, you get people who can say that, Umaduro da you know, like I know the way they are talking to Abby's mom that you have to, you know, you know, you know, say yes, you know. So it's easier, you know, when you have people that you are surrounded with who could tell you that, don't think about it too much, jail, soon, you know, you have people around you. But if you don't have people around you, like my mom did not, and it took her about 3 years. So my mom would, you know, so we would come home, my mom would tell, in fact, she had like about 4 different house helps, you know, that would come and leave because she was just snappy, you know, and then she will say that, you know, you know, or she would say that, yes. So we will say that, I should tell you, she said, you know, she became a shadow of herself. My mom could not actually do anything. My mom is a very hardworking person, you know. And everything that she was doing,
she just gave up.
Yes, she just gave up.
They shut it down.
Yes, I wanted to ask. Sorry, Funola. Now, is a grief not being afraid of losing? Because sometimes that's fear that grieves me. Oh my God, God forbid. What if my husband dies? What if now expecting it somewhat? I reject it. Even thinking about it. It's something that comes to my mind. I don't know if it's ever happened. You've never lost anybody, but do you ever look at your parents and think, oh my goodness, I don't even want to imagine if they died.
So my dad is getting close to 90.
What?
And yes, my dad is close to 90.
Oh wow, you are God's favorite indeed.
His last birthday, he called me and he was so excited. He was so happy. He called me my pet's name and I was like, I'm 1 year older. And you could tell the excitement. And then I was very happy for him, and then some days later he called and was like, I'm not feeling fine, and I could tell that fear. I was like, you know, say this one. I started complaining, and in that moment I was like, God, please, I can't, I don't know, I can't deal because Daddy, you still have to calm down. You never chop belly food, but you need to calm down. But while he was talking to me that day, I could sense the fear in his voice, because you know he said he's having issues with his eyes, glaucoma and the likes, and he finally told me that he couldn't see clearly with one eye, that would only see with the other eye, and then it's also this, that. And when he was talking, I sensed that fear, and immediately I was scared. I go, please don't let anything happen to my daddy. I had to pray, and then I slept off that night and I was feeling so sad as if it had already happened. Like, hold up. I reject that feeling.
Yes, amen. Amen. That's healthy to sort of expect another death.
The truth about it is that for people for those of us who have aged parents, for those who have aged parents, and for life generally, there are times you want to understand that, see, in life things will happen, right? So whether you like it or not, I've also had that concern. Like my dad has always been my favorite parent, right? Wow. Despite my 3 parents, so he has always been my favorite parent. And sometimes I remind myself that one day, if I'm actually going to enjoy the blessing, and if he's going to enjoy the blessing means that one day I will bury him.
Yes.
If I'm going to enjoy the blessing, and if he is also going to enjoy the blessing, right? For both of us to be blessed means that I am the one who will bury him. Right? Now, that is where we come into it. We want to deny the fact that this will never happen, but in reality it will happen. So what do we do? How do we prepare for it? Because we have to prepare for it.
Oh my God.
Now, the simple way to prepare for it is to enjoy the moment. Right? Live the life and enjoy it. Many times we are worried about our parents, but something happened to a friend. Something happens to a neighbor, right? I was coming to my estate, and I remembered one man that had passed. I cannot even remember his name, but I just felt bad. Like, he was such a calm man who always greets me anytime I was passing. I do not even know his name, but he fell in his house, hit his head, and he died. Like, I saw him the day before. He still greeted me, right? And these things will happen, but what do? Is just to see that life is to be enjoyed. We want to enjoy this life. We want to make experiences with these people. We want to have these shared experiences with the people, and also see as much as possible, like, what to avoid what mommy suffered, to enjoy good network and relationship with people, community with people. My dad was depressed. We were the one that told our dad that, see, man, you have to remarry. We told our dad, like, you just have to remarry. We cannot keep up with this. We cannot continue. The man was brushing like 3 times in a day because he would literally forget that he had brushed before.
Wow. I wish women you know, sort of thought about remarrying as quickly as
so we
society isn't that kind to women or the widows.
My dad, all of a sudden, he will start calling you almost every day to be checking up on you.
My dad calls me as early as 5 a.m. All of my friends, if you're my friend, my dad should know you're my friend, and he has your number.
Wow, he'll call you.
As early as 6 o'clock, he's calling you. Hope you are Sarah, you're good. You could not fight, though.
Do you know why? He's trying to make friends and more younger people again. Because right now, to a large extent, if you understand daddy's predicament right now, is that most of his friends are gone.
Okay. All right. So here we have to round up on this session, but I know our agree or disagree session will definitely allow us to explore this topic of grief a little bit more. But we have a fun fact, maybe douse a bit of this emotional tension a bit, and then we're going to play our agree or disagree game.